Hi, my name is Stephanie of The Well-Doing Mama. I am the mom of 8 kids, ages 21 down to 5. We have been homeschooling for 17 plus years, and I have a heart and desire to share with you the love of homeschooling, the love of large family, and doing it well. So that's where the well-doing part comes from. Galatians 6:9, do not weary in well-doing. So doing a good job can become wearisome. And so my goal is to encourage you in those things. Homemaking, homeschooling, those types of things. So today I'm going to be sharing with you, I'm going to grab one real quick, Christian Light Education's Bible program. And so I do a couple different things with Bible. Okay, so a little story about Bible. As a homeschool mom, I think it's really important to do some kind of Bible. And part of why we homeschool is so that our kids can have a Christian-based education. And that comes from a variety of ways. So some years I have done things where I do it with a group of kids. So I might do, for instance, last year we did Apologies, Who is God, which is a book. I read it to the kids. We discussed it. We talked about it a little, read verses together, that kind of thing, along with we read like some missionary stories and did things like that. And so we've done things similar to that, where it's been kind of a group devotional type time, I guess I would say. But then some years I really like to hit the actual Bible knowledge. I believe our faith does grow well from actually understanding the content of the Bible. And so I have struggled. I've looked at some different things over the years, and I've used different things over the years. And there's a variety of options of what you could use. Now, part of the reason I wanted to go with this is at our previous church, the Sunday school program really had a hard cycle, like a solid cycle, I guess I would say, of hitting all of the major Bible stories, which I do want my kids to learn at some point, right? Like I want them to understand how that all plays in to the story of the Bible as a whole. But our current church, the Sunday school is really great, but it is definitely more focused on who God is and how that shows up. So you don't get the same emphasis on the Bible stories. They're in there, they're part of it, but it's definitely a focus on who God is. Or at least, I guess from what I taught in Sunday school, different ones, but I know some of my kids, it's about who God is. There were some doctrinal things in there, but there's not a huge focus on the actual Bible stories, except for the littlest of kids. So that's great. There's nothing wrong with that because you can't focus on everything. So when my kids are getting stronger Bible knowledge in Sunday school, I tended to focus on more of the who God is and that type of encouragement at home. I've always done both, back and forth some. But since they're getting more of the who God is at church and Sunday school, I wanted to really focus on the Bible knowledge. And I hope that makes sense because I think it's all really important. But I do want them. So many times I sat through sermons. I did not grow up. I went to church off and on, Sunday school, Awanas, but then after elementary school we moved and I didn't really go to church until I was an adult. But so many times I sat through sermons where the pastor would say, well, and you know the story of this, or you know the story of that. And guess what? I didn't know those stories. So I want to be really sure that my next set of kids coming up knows those stories really well too. Because I think it does play a role when you read things in the New Testament that refer back to the Old Testament. Can you really understand those things? So if you're reading through Hebrews and it starts talking about Abraham, and you're like, well, who is Abraham? What did Abraham do? You need to have that back knowledge. Anyway, so this is going to be a review. That's the backstory of why I'm doing this for Bible this year for my kids. We will probably still do a few things together here and there, but this is going to be the majority of their Bible. I'm going to walk you through it. We have done Christian Light Education Bible before. I also will tell you I bought all my kids a grade down, grade under where they're at, because partly based on the content of what was in the books, but also I want this to be easy as far as like the actual work of it. I want them to be learning the Bible stories and not have any issues with the reading level or any of that. Also, it is going to be King James Version of the Bible, which we previously used a lot at church, and now our church uses ESV more. So, no problem. I'm not the apologist either way about Bible versions. There's some that I would say are bad, but overall, I'm not like it needs to be this version. So, I guess my point is, I feel like the reading could be a little challenging for some of them, not all of them. So that's part of why I went down, and also it had to do with what content was being taught at what levels and what I wanted them to get. So I'm going to turn you around, and I'm going to walk you through these Bibles or these Bible curriculums. I have 3 levels, and so I'll just give you peeks into each one. Okay, so I'm going to start with showing you a little bit of the Bible 2. Probably should move some of that out of the way. So Bible 2 comes with 5 booklets. So one of the things I do like is it has these little booklets, so it doesn't seem as overwhelming for the kids. So I have the 5 booklets, and then each booklet has, 16 lessons in it. So we don't have to do one every day. And then what it has is a story and then a little activity for the kids with a memory verse. So this Bible story is written in a little bit easier to read language, and then has a little picture for them to do. So I'll just skip and show you another one, and has a little bit. So nothing super crazy there, right? And we'll skip to book 5. And this one is, let's see. Okay, Jeremiah down to Nehemiah. And you can see again, just fairly simple little activities, but a reading and some activities to go with it. So this will be for my actual 3rd grader. So this will not be super challenging academic-wise, but that was my desire. Now this is the teacher's guide, which I have not actually looked at. So I've used this curriculum before, and I'm pretty sure I only use the teacher's guide for checking work. So it does, this is meant to be used in like a small Christian school. So, and it does work well to use as homeschool. So it does give some so see here, it talks about the attribute of God is all powerful. So it does give a little bit. So if I want to talk with him about this, I have some extra information I can. And it has some extra questions there that I can ask him. It also tells me where in the Bible the information is from. So that is what the teacher's guide looks like. It also has the story in here also. So if we wanted to read it together, I have my own version there. Okay, so there is the teacher's guide. Now let's look at level 4. Again, Bible 4. This is going to be for my 5th grader. And this again has 5 booklets. These are thicker. So I'll show you a little. Here, let's hold these up. Ooh, too close. This is 2nd grade. This is 4th grade. So definitely gets to be a little more, which it should, right? And so here, these again have 16. Notice they have quizzes now. 2nd grade did not have any quizzes. It goes into a whole scoring system. We do not keep grades in elementary school, so I'm not overly worried about that. But it does have them, which is good for them to learn to think through. Okay, so here, this is actually not a Bible story. Okay, this is interesting. This is more, so it says the purpose of Bible 401 is to teach Bible culture and geography in order to engage the student interest. We've incorporated those elements into a fictional story with fictional characters. The writer of these stories made an effort to be historically and culturally correct, but occasionally reference materials did not agree. In those cases, the stories were portrayed according to the writer's best judgment. So these are not going to be direct Bible stories, but they're going to do culture and geography of the Bible, which also important to understand. So much of the Bible, you're like, what does this mean? How does this make sense? So again, they have a story and some questions to answer. So talking about like Passover. Let's see what else. the wedding procession, shepherd or carpenter, how those played out, suspicious stranger, very interesting. Okay, let's see what 402 is. Okay, so 402, we are back to actual Bible stories. And these are obviously life of Jesus stories. And so again, it's going to have a story that's several pages long and then some question and answers. So, and these do have, let's see, the tester in the middle so you can easily pull them out. And I think before each quiz, the quizzes are in the back. So you have to make sure you know when to do the quiz. It's in the back. I would just do it like as a worksheet, not as an actual quiz. And they do have kind of a review. They call it self-check, but a little review prior to taking the test. So those are good ways for the kids to make sure they're actually retaining some material. Okay, so there's 5 of those. And I did get the teacher's guide to go with that. And so it, again, shows all of the things that they'll be learning. I think all of these are Life of Jesus. So, except for obviously the first one. So it gives a little extra information here. Gives the story. It has some extra questions for discussion if you want to use those. So I'm not exactly sure if I will be using those, but those are good to have there. Oh, that's kind of nice. Look, it gives you the activity and it tells you where to find the information. So if you want to, kids having trouble finding an answer, you can direct them to where the answer would be without giving them the exact answer. That is really nice. I want to see. It has these remember questions. We remember. Okay, so if you look here, I want to make sure you can see it. If you look here, it has these we remember questions. So these are review all the way back, kind of like a spiral review edition here. And notice these go even back to page 8 and 11 and 27, 16. So the review goes through everything they've learned so far in the book. Okay, that's really nice. I like that. Okay, so there's that. Now we have Bible 6. Obviously, it's not any thicker than Bible 4, but there's more of them. There are 10 of them. I am not totally sure we will get through all 10, to be honest, because I have to juggle time. Okay, so these are Joshua, Achan, Israelites going into Canaan. Okay, so this must be like after they left Egypt. So let's see. Gives a little information. Section 1 has okay, so here we go. Here's the story. It gives them the Bible passage this time. So they do know where it's at in the Bible. But it's written in a little more friendlier language, maybe I'd say. And then it has the questions. Okay. I've used some of these before, but I haven't totally looked at. Now, notice for the reviewing section before the quiz, it just gives a study. It doesn't actually have like questions to review. It just tells you what to look for. Again, I will not be using it as a quiz. So my kids will just do the quiz using their book as needed. Because we're not going to spend a lot of time studying to memorize this. As more, I just want them to see it and learn it. And I think they'll gain a lot of good knowledge that way. Okay. And again, there is a test in the middle of the book. Let's see, where did it go? There it is. So there's a test in the middle of the book, and then the quizzes are at the end of the book. Now, I did not buy the teacher guide because it was actually kind of expensive. I instead just bought the answer keys. So these do not have anything extra. The truth is, I know I'm not going to sit down and talk anymore with my kid about this other than answering the questions with her. I will go through and we'll check the questions together. So this just has the answers. So I just bought the answer keys. So I hope that is... Wow. Okay. So I hope that is helpful in giving you a little glimpse into a good solid Bible option for wanting to gain some Bible knowledge. There's some other ones out there that are pretty decent, but I thought this one would work well for our purposes this year. And so just remember, you can always use different things, different years. Nothing is set in stone. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for joining us today. Please leave a comment if you have something else you'd like me to talk about or you have any questions. Please hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos about what we do.